نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In yesterday's lesson, we saw and we learnt that what makes qada and kafara wajib. Qada meaning making up for that missed fast, and kafara which means the expiation. So what makes qada and kafara wajib? There are three things. The first, eating without any valid reason, drinking, and having marital relations. These three things, if a person, after having made the intention of fasting, after having made the intention, the niyat of fasting, if he does one of these three things, then he will need to keep qada, he will need to make up for that missed fast, and he will need to keep kafara, the expiation. Now, in today's lesson, how does one fulfill the kafara? How does one fulfill the expiation? The first way a person fulfills the expiation, the kafara, is by freeing a slave. By slaves do not exist. So after this, after you can cross this one out, that you are unable to free a slave, the next step is to fast for 2 consecutive months. So if a person is unable to free a slave, then the second step he must take to fulfill his kafara is to fast for 2 consecutive months, 2 Islamic months. It needs to be 60 days or 59 depending on the months, as sometimes an Islamic month might have 29 or 30, but what the scholars like to say is 60 days, just to make it easier and just to be on the safe side as well. So to fast for 60 days consecutively, so you can't have a break in between. And these 60 days, you should make sure that there are no days in which it is haram to fast. So, for example, it shouldn't be during the month of Dhul Hijjah, during the Baqarah Eid. So a person should avoid this month. So other than this month, to fast for 60 days. Now, if a person is unable to fast for 60 days, then he can feed 60 miskins. He can feed 60 poor people. And when he feeds them, he must feed them 2 full meals a day. So he needs to feed 60 miskins 2 full meals, 2 full meals. Okay? And the 60 miskins do not need to be fed at once. So, for example, a person can feed 20 miskins, the 2 meals on one day. Then on the second day, he can feed another 30. And then on the third day, he can feed the remaining 10. So the 60 miskins does not need to be done at once. It can be done in different times. But remember, it needs to be 60 miskins, 60 poor people for 2 meals. Or he can feed 1 miskin. If 60 is hard for him, he can feed 1 miskin 2 meals for 60 days. So he can feed 1 miskin 2 meals for 60 days. This is the other option. And remember, the feeding of the miskin can only be done when a person is unable to fast for the 2 months. When a person is able, when he has the ability to fast for 2 months, then the feeding of the miskin is not allowed for him. He must fast the 2 months. This option of feeding the 60 miskins only comes when a person is unable to fast for the 2 months. So these are the ways of fulfilling the kafara. The first is freeing a slave. And if this isn't possible, then fasting for 2 consecutive months. And if this isn't possible, then feeding 60 miskins 2 meals, or feeding 1 miskin 2 meals for 60 days. Now, in the next question, if a person is unable to feed 60 miskins, or feed one miskin for 60 days himself, if he hasn't got that capability, what can he do? Now he can give, this is a possibility for him, he can give a half a sa'. A sa' is a measuring cup which was used at the time of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he can either give half a sa', which equates to roughly 1.92 kg, 1.92 kg of wheat. So let's say 2 kg to be on the safe side. So he can roughly give 2 kg of wheat or its value. And its value, you can speak to your local imam, but I've seen that some of the figures, it varies between £3 all the way up to £5. So from 3 to 5. So you can either give roughly 2 kg of wheat or its value to each miskin, to each poor person. Okay, so this is another way of fulfilling the kafara if you are unable to feed the miskin. And this only comes when you do not have the capability to fast for the 2 months. Only when you don't have the capability to fast for the 2 months, and then the only option left for you is to feed the 60 miskins. If this isn't a possibility for you to feed the 60 miskins, or in Arabic they say masakin, if you cannot feed the 60 masakin, then you can give each miskin, each poor person, roughly 2 kg of wheat or its price. So for example, you can give each poor person 3 to 5 pounds, and this will fulfill the kafara. Or you can give roughly 2 kg, or the precise figure, which was 1.92 kg of wheat. You can give that much wheat to one poor person, but for 60 days. Or you can give him the value, you can give him the price of it. For example, the 3 or 5 pound, you can give him, let's say £3, you can give him the £3 every day for 60 days. This will fulfill the kafara. And same here, when it comes to giving the miskin or the masakin the money or the wheat, there is no harm in missing out days in between. So for example, when it comes to giving one miskin, let's say half a sa' of wheat, when it comes to this case, then you can give it to him for 10 days. You can take 5 days gap in between, and then you can continue. But you must remember, it must be done for 60 days on 60 occasions. It must be done on 60 occasions. And remember, when it comes to feeding the 60 masakin, children will not count amongst the 60 masakin. So if, for example, there's, let's say, a couple of children, let's say there's 3 children amongst the 60 masakin, then that person will need to feed 63 masakin, because the children, these 3 children, will not count amongst the masakin. It must be 60 grown poor people. So this is if a person cannot feed the 60 the masakin himself, he is able to give them the money or the wheat. Now, in regards to kafara, is there expiation for breaking and voiding fasts besides the fasts of Ramadan? Because we've learned that the kafara only comes for breaking the fasts of Ramadan. But like when it comes to breaking a nafal, now a person needs to keep the qada of that nafal, and that qada is wajib now upon him to keep. The intention of the fast was nafal to begin with, but now that he's made the intention, now it's wajib for him to complete. And now if he breaks the nafal, now he must keep the qada. So is there kafara for breaking a nafal, or is there a kafara for breaking another? My brothers and sisters, the kafara only comes for the fasts of Ramadan. When only the fasts of Ramadan are broken, then a person must keep kafara. There is no kafara for any other fasts, for the nafal fasts and the wajib fasts, only for the fara'id, only for the fasts of Ramadan. And inshallah we will continue tomorrow learning about the kafara, learning about the expiation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a tawfiq. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.